Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and Carlo. On today's show, we will review the weekend Serie A action. Juventus and Milan drawing 0-0 in the big Sunday night game. Lots to talk about from that match. Napoli, just a bit earlier on Sunday, came from behind to beat Genoa 2-1 with Rasmus Hojlund scoring again. Napoli, are now joint top with Roma at the top of the table after Roma made it 5 wins in 6 with a comeback victory at Fiorentina, a result which put Stefano Pioli at big risk. Inter make it 5 wins in a row by thrashing Cremonese. And we'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. It's International Week, of course, this week, and Italy play against Estonia. We will preview that match in our Q&A episode. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including our weekly Q&A episode where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus our Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP, become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month. You can also watch our free episodes and shorter clips on YouTube, and you can become a patron on YouTube memberships. Go to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/@itafootpod for more details. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. So whichever platform you consume us on, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, we'd really appreciate if you give us a follow or subscribe to us. If you can like us or give us a like or give us a 5-star rating, all of that stuff, it really helps us to grow. And if you've not done already, do follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. But do you want to buy tickets for a Serie A match, but you don't know how to? Well, Live Football Tickets is the best place to find Serie A tickets. Tickets are available for as little as £25, sometimes for even less, and buy-in from livefootballtickets.com is totally secure, and they even offer a 150% refund guarantee on ticket authenticity. So if you want to watch Juventus or Inter or Milan or Napoli, or join Nima watching Pisa versus Lecce in a relegation dogfight, then Live Football Tickets is for you. To buy tickets to any Serie A match, simply follow the link in the description of this episode. Okay, let's get into today's show. So, of course, we'll start off with the big match of the weekend, which is Juventus against Milan at the Allianz Arena in Torino. And it finishes 0-0, this game. Lots to talk about from both points of view. We'll start off from the Juventus side. It is yet another draw for Juve. 5 draws in a row now since that Inter win, all competitions. So the great start that they had to the season has been completely wiped away, and they're now falling away, and they're now out of the top 4. I think what this game showed from Juventus's point of view is, whilst they competed well, they showed good spirit. I think the running stats weren't bad. They didn't show the kind of tiredness that they've shown in some recent games as much as they have done. But the lack of quality, especially offensively, was very apparent in this game. They only created one really big chance, and that was the Gatti chance, which we'll come to, with Mike Maignan made an incredible save, and that came off a set piece. Apart from that, virtually nothing. 0.68 XG, which kind of, tells you everything. And above all, and it is a crisis, Juventus have a striker crisis. It's simple as that. They have 3 strikers. Each one is worse than the other. There's Jonathan David, there's Lois Openda, there's Dusan Vlahovic, None of them are good enough right now. Time will tell if any of them will be good enough, full stop. It's a graveyard, Juventus' striker situation right now. Jonathan David was abysmal in this game. There were two moments in particular which literally had me throwing the remote at the screen, and I was at a birthday party, and there were kids around, and I really had to control my emotions. The first one more than the second one. Now, the second one is the one that everybody's going to be laughing, and there's memes and there's videos, and everyone's just taking the piss out of him, where Kalulu cuts it back, and it could have been a good chance for Juventus, but inexplicably the guy just slips over. It's comical. So everybody's going to have seen that one. There was actually another incident about 5 minutes before, which drove me even more mad than that. I went ballistic when this one happened. So Conceição's down the right, does some fantastic play, puts it across the 6-yard box. It takes a slight deflection, and it goes right across the 6-yard box to the back post, what should have been an open goal tap-in for David. But Jonathan David was completely sleeping, and he reacted far too late. And as a result, the ball went out. And by the time he reacted, the ball had gone and the chance had gone. Now, that is why Juventus signed him. Juventus signed him to be a penalty box, 6-yard box, killer, to score the goals. This is what we kind of expect from him. And a good forward, a top forward, would have gambled. They would have anticipated. They would have read that situation. And they would have been there for a simple tapping at the back post. He's completely, just sleeping. And that drove me mad. That is when I just thought, well, he's just not good enough. And he was horrendous in this game, David. That's number one. Then Lois Openda come on, and his very first touch of the game summed up his entire Juventus career so far. He was out on the left side, and he just miscontrolled it. The heaviest touch ever, straight out of play. His first touch for Juventus makes Romelu Lukaku, earlier on in his career, his first touch look like Roberto Baggio. Like, his first touch is so bad. He has the first touch of Fred West. For those in the UK, will know who Fred West is. If you don't, Google Fred West. That's Luis Openda's first touch, Fred West. That Fred West would be ashamed at Luis Openda's first touch. That's how bad it is. And then there's Dusan Vlahovic, who come on, and he wasn't good. And when Dusan Vlahovic is the best of this sorry lot, that tells you everything. So Juventus' striker situation is embarrassing. All three of them are just failing miserably. And Juventus are just not going to succeed this season while these three strikers are playing as they are. I hope it gets better. Maybe it will. All right, now it's embarrassing.
It was, for me, generally speaking, I tweeted this out at full time too, that the individual technical errors from both teams, from both sets of players, minus Luka Modric, was genuinely atrocious. The finishing in particular. Gatti had one good finish, but other than that, one finish was more dreadful and awful and pathetic than the other. It was awful. If it wasn't Locatelli, it wasn't Openda. If it wasn't Leao, if it wasn't, it was dreadful. Jimenez's finish, even though I think Jimenez had a good game, and I think this was probably his best outing for Milan this season. I thought it was very useful for Milan, but regardless, just focusing on you, but just generally speaking, it was awful. The finishing was absolutely dreadful. In midweek, when Jonathan David had that sitter against Villarreal, and I spoke about it on the Thursday pod for patrons only, and we made a social out of it, and I had a bunch of butthurt idiots crying, "Oh, you're exaggerating. He slipped. A bird, a plane, the wind, the sun, the moon, God. I don't know. Lots of
Russia.
excuses from. Yeah. I don't know. His troubled it's troubled childhood.
It's the pandemic.
Yeah, I don't know." And it was hilarious to me because I actually rate Jonathan David. I just find the whole concept that you can't criticize a player for something bad, even though you rate that player. But the mind, the very idea of two different thoughts in one human head seems to be advanced thinking for some people, but it seems to be like advanced brain activity. But look, it's he's shocking. His misses are shocking. I still think there's a player there. I still think he's a this isn't a judgment on him overall. I've watched him for a couple of years. I think he is a goal scorer, but like all goal scorers, he needs confidence, and he has none right now. You can literally feel the anxiety. He's a walking anxiety. Like he's a walking human angst right now, and it's a confidence thing with goal scorers, and he has none. And that's why you see these comical misses, and he doesn't have any confidence. He doesn't believe in himself. He feels awkward, and it's a problem. Yes, I don't think more than anything, except for the Gatti chance, Juventus created nothing. I'm sorry, it was half chances. It was Milan will be kicking themselves that they didn't win this. But overall, it's a really, 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 really bad performance. Like for Juve, it's not encouraging. I mean, it's weird with Juventus because first, they looked a bit more free flowing under Tudor, and they scored a lot. Okay, the Juve game, the Inter game was not exactly XG. It wasn't exactly a festival of a high XG. It was more goalkeeping howlers, but they looked more free flowing and they looked much more comfortable. Now Tudor's had to pull down the brakes after having conceded quite a bit, and it's looking like Thiago Motta again. Yeah. It's very rigid. It's very stale. There's no fantasy. There's nothing. And it's not just the strikers and the finishing that's dreadful. It's the chance creation. There's no creativity, and the no creativity comes from Juventus's midfield. There is no creativity in that midfield.
Juventus are ninth in the Serie A table for XG. That's which says everything, because that generally over the course of a season, where your XG is where if we're talking about goals here, how many goals you're going to score. Generally over the course of the season, those level out. Yeah. Those level out, and they're so right now they're really struggling. I mean they've only scored. Juventus have only scored they've scored 9 goals in 5 games, but I mean 4 of those were against Inter, which came from an XG of like 0.7 or something stupid like that in that game. So, like systematically, there's a problem there with the creation.
That's exactly the point I'm making.
That does come to Tudor, yeah, as well.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I'm making. That there's no patterns of play, as you like to say. He's created this kind of baseline sense of security where they know what they're doing defensively. They're very solid. They look comfortable defensively. They all know what they're doing.
I wouldn't say that. They conceded 11 in 5 games before this game, and they were lucky.
No, I'm not talking about, like, as I said, he's pulled the brakes. I mean, if we look at this game alone, I mean, in the beginning things were open, it was more free flowing. Now he's pulled the brakes. And I thought against Milan they looked solid, they looked organized, they looked structured. But they were individual howlers. But if we're perfectly honest, I think that's more down to the quality, individual quality, more than a systemic problem.
Well, individual quality is a problem as well. I mean, listen, look at the Juventus.
There isn't one. Let's be honest. In attack, Juventus don't have for chance creation. There is no individual quality. It's just Francisco.
I disagree with that. I mean, Yildiz. Listen, if you've got Yildiz and Conceição in your attack. Yeah. you can't tell me that's most teams would dream of
Yeah,
those
they
two
would,
players.
but you
So
still
they've
need.
got the quality. They haven't got a striker.
Yes.
The strikers is a big
It's
problem.
not just the striker. It's not the striker. The strikers are the finishers, hopefully, especially these strikers. They're the finishers. But when we're talking about creativity, I think it was basically Conceição and Inshallah. He was there was no there was nothing there. You know, they just it was just basically.
No, there
Let's hope
wasn't. But
Conceição
I
keeps his
disagree on the
man.
whole. I disagree on the whole individual quality in attack.
Well,
Juventus have
Conceição who can beat his
Juventus
man.
have the best youngster in Serie A in Yildiz, and they have Conceição, who I think is a fantastic player and was the only one in this game that did anything. So they've got the individual quality. What they don't have is they don't have central midfield creativity. They don't have players constructing, which is a problem because you've got to get the ball into the areas for these attacking players. And the striker situation, like we've discussed, is a crisis. But with the individual quality, if you look at the team as a whole, yes, this Juventus team is lacking individual quality as a whole. That is apparent in the midfield.
I think that's kind of the broader point I was trying to make. Is exactly that. I think the individual quality overall is lacking. And especially, yes, Conceição is brilliant 1v1. He can beat his man. He's got really low center of gravity. He's really technical. Kenan Yildiz has a brilliant brain and so on. He can create. But overall, in terms of, creativity over the whole team, and also defensively, I think on an individual level, I think they're lacking in individual quality. I mean, the midfield we spoke about even before the season started, that Juventus they're going to struggle, and they are. But look, the cracks are showing at Juve, to put it that way, and in both phases. I think defensively, as I said, I think Tudor structured them well. But you see some individual mistakes that just so unnecessary. And Kelly in particular, I mean, when people want to, again, this notion of, yes, he scored a couple of good goals, but a defender is supposed to be able to defend, and he's supposed to not make individual howlers. Kelly makes lots of mistakes.
I think, listen, in general, yes, Kelly's not a Juventus level defender. That's obvious, but he's been Juventus' best defender this season by a distance.
Well, I think that says more about Juventus' defense and the quality.
Yeah, no, but I just think that we like to pick on Kelly. I'm not like sitting in.
I'm not picking on Kelly.
He's been Juventus' best defender. He's actually been really good this season, to be honest. Even defensively, it's the others that have been bad. And in this game, he was Juventus' best. There's the penalty which we'll get to. That's a debate. We'll get to where he gets caught in behind. So that's an error. Whether it's a penalty or not, we'll debate that afterwards. But he was actually, I thought him and Conceição overall over the 90 minutes, I thought were the only Juventus players that performed well in this game. Gatti was horrendous again. Rugani
defensively,
Rugani was just well, even
I thought Rugani made no mistake. That's the thing with Rugani. Rugani's not a sexy player, but he's very, like, he does what he's supposed to. He's very, like, he doesn't make any big glaring mistakes. He also doesn't make anything fantastic. He's very, like, he's a 6 out of 10 always. Yeah. But with Kelly,
but we're talking about he's not even a Europa League level defender. If you want to get in the Europa League, you don't even have Rugani.
Yeah, but my point is
talking about a team that's supposed to be.
Yeah, I meant more like in terms of how you. Like, if you look at the mistakes that you make that you shouldn't be making, like in terms of reading the game, stuff like that, Kelly and Gatti are making mistakes that are just insane. They should not be making those mistakes. These are mistakes that you should when you shouldn't be making. These are not.
I think the overall point is Gatti, Rugani, Kelly are so far off being what should be Juventus level defenders. That's the underlining point here, that if you're starting
and it's
Gatti,
not just
Rugani, and Kelly, then something has gone really badly wrong with Juventus.
And that's what I meant about individual quality, that it's not good enough defensively, and I think that between in terms of creativity, I think individual two players that can create something out of nothing, but the rest just, and if they're not having a good night, like I don't think Kenan Yildiz had a great night. He was completely marked out of the game. Conceição was good. He gave what's his name, Bartesaghi, a run for his He gave him problems all night. But other than that, like, you can't rely on one player on the night. You need to be able to create more. You need
I
to
didn't
have
understand Tudor, and just to finish off, I didn't understand Tudor's substitutions. He bringing on Openda and Vlahovic and taking off Yildiz and Conceição. Now, yeah, Yildiz wasn't having a good night, and he's had a bit of a dip, and he started to look tired. But Tudor has said, well, first of all, Conceição was the only player offensively doing anything for Juventus in this game. So why you would take off Conceição is madness for me. Yes, okay, he's coming off a bit of an injury. Maybe they wanted to protect him. They were a little bit worried. That, for me, unless that's the reason, then if you're taking him off for tactical reasons, it's madness. But bringing on Openda and Vlahovic together and playing the two, I mean, Tudor has said himself, rightfully so. He said it like last week or the week before. Rightfully so. He said that of those three strikers, only one of them can play at a time. You can't play two of them together. It doesn't work. Not in this system. Anyway, not in a back three system. It just doesn't work. And he rightfully said that. And then he brings them on. He brings the two on together and he plays them on together and changes to a 3-5-2. And after that, Juventus's offense, or what was left of it, because there wasn't much to start with, completely died. And Juventus had nothing. There was no, because you cannot play Openda and Vlahovic together. I mean, it's like,
well, you can play them more.
Who's got
you
the
can
worst
play
first touch contest? That's what it was when they come on.
You can play Openda and Vlahovic more together. They're more compatible tactically up front in a two-man attack than Jonathan David and Vlahovic are, in my opinion. I think those two just cannot work together. And the point, but this again shows why they shouldn't have bought Openda. They should have brought in Kolo Muani, because Kolo Muani can drift out more to the left. They brought in Openda as a substitute for Kolo Muani, and well, that's not.
Well, they bought Openda to save 20 million, so they could then spend it on Zagrova, who has been out for a year, who I really like. I think he's a fantastic talent, but they've saved that. This is the strategy. They decided not to spend 60 million on Kolo Muani because it was too much money. So they spent 40 odd or whatever it was, just over 40 on Openda. So they saved that 20 million, used that 20 million on Zagrova, which, okay, looks great on paper. Zagrova's a good player. And they got him for a decent, however much they ended up spending for him, they got him for a decent price. But they're buying Zagrova, who now they can't use on the same time as Conceição because they're identical players. You can't play Conceição and Zagrova. It's either one or the other. So what was the point of spending that money on and now you've got three strikers who are all incompatible. So this is Juventus's strategy in the market, which has just been a disaster for 5 years now, or more than 5 years, team building. It just makes no sense. And I'm saying that, and I want to underline, I like Zagrova. I think once he's fit, I think he's going to be really good because I watched him at Lille. He can beat his man. He's a great talent. But you can't play Conceição and Zagrova together. So it's one or the other. And Conceição's undroppable the way he's playing. So it's just a mess. It's a mess. And I think that if we move on to Milan, I think Milan will be kicking themselves because they should have won this game on the chances. This is how I've been breaking down Milan all season so far. I've been looking at their games and I've been comparing the number of chances they create, big chances, versus the number of chances and big chances they've conceded. And with the exception of the Napoli game, Milan have deserved to win every single game based on the chances. Obviously, they beat Napoli, but that was a different game. It was conditioned by the red card and all that kind of stuff. But and it was the same in this game. I thought, in general, this game was quite, in overall play, was pretty even. There wasn't much between the teams. But on the big chances, Milan had 3 huge chances. They had a penalty. We'll come on to the penalty in a bit. And then they had the two Rafael Leao chances. And I want to talk about Rafael Leao, Nima, because at the end of the game, Allegri said that he needs to be more ruthless. I mean, he's missed 2 sitters in this game. He's the first one at the back post. Pulisic crosses it in, and he kind of scuffs it wide, snatches at it. You've got to put that away. And then the second one, he's put clean through with a brilliant through ball from Luka Modric. Gorgeous. 90th minute. There it is. Win the game for Milan. And I have to say that the connection on that finish was so poor. Like, straight at the keeper, scuffed it into the ground. really, really bad. I thought that, Leao, we both think that he's probably going to end up being the striker once he's fully fit this season. I actually thought that the movement of Leao is improving. It's that of a striker now. I mean, the movement, actually, look at his movement. Well, even for the first one, to break off at the back post and be all alone, that's good. I praise him for that. And actually, if you look at his movement for the Modric pass, look at how he moves from left to right to get into the space. Really good. The movement of a striker, not the finish of a striker. And that is where Rafael Leao needs to improve. He needs to be ruthless, doesn't he, Nima, if he's going to be that man?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, that's the final thing that's been missing from his game, because he's got everything else. He's got the technical brilliance. He's got the he's got the read. He's got everything. He's actually pretty decent in the air as well. If he can improve that, but he's a big, strong guy, and the finishing and killer's instinct is something he needs to, ruthlessly, as in the penalty area, as Allegri said. That's the final thing. But he's got everything else to be a superstar, megastar. But again, it's the finishing in this game. We spoke about Leao's two finishes. Pulisic, and the penalty was pathetic. And then in the first half, when he's got the ball at his feet and he's dribbling forward and he slips over his own feet, the finishing was just generally in this game, in the Serie A this weekend, Zaniolo, Gosens, it was just okay. Those were sitters that they missed, but the finishing was just atrocious overall, and it was really, really annoying to see, because again, like this game in particular, as I started by saying, this game, the individual technical errors were, barring Luka Modric, he was the only one who was just, he was brilliant, sublime, but everyone else was just, it was poor. It was genuinely poor, and it's kind of an indictment on where these two clubs are in the Serie A, are in their reality right now, that you have so many poor individual errors in a game of this magnitude. It was genuinely dreadful.
Just to stay on Leao though, I think that the player that Rafael Leao needs to follow to get to that next level is Ousmane Dembele of PSG, because those two players are comparable in the sense that they've both got, or both had, if you look at Dembele up until, let's just say, just over a year ago, like incredible pace. They have these qualities that's only a handful of players in the world have, that searing pace to just destroy players one-on-one. And there's very few of those that are just, you can't defend them in open space. Sometimes you just have to say, well, there's nothing I can do. And Rafael Leao has that, and Rafael Leao has world-class moments, because we've always called him a world-class moments player, which again, only a handful of players have the ability and the tools to be able to do. It's putting that all together, becoming consistent, but also being concrete and effective. And Leao's always missed that. If you're one-on-one, if Leao's one-on-one, you're thinking, he might score. You're not where there's the top players where they're one-on-one. They're going to put it away. They're going to bury it. Harry Kane's one-on-one. He's going to put it away. Lewandowski, he's going to score it. Haaland, he's going to put it away. Rafael Leao, well, he might misconnect it. He might, do you know what I mean? And that's where he is. I think that he needs to follow, because Dembele went from this kind of player who everybody knew had incredible qualities, but was inconsistent, was, one time he would score a worldie, and the next one he would hit three into row Z, and he was almost a bit of a laughing stock. He was seen as this, they spent all that money for him, and then all of a sudden, he turned into this, he turned into the winner of the Ballon d'Or, so I think that Dembele is the player that, and I think that Leao, I don't think, a year ago, if you were to say who's better, Leao or Dembele, I think most people would have said Leao. So I think that the possibilities are there, but he needs to be, that's the next step for Leao, because really, he cost. Pulisic missed a penalty as well, but he cost Milan in this game, and they'll be kicking themselves because they should have won this game. On the positive side, I thought the defense was very solid. Juventus horrendous offensively, but you've got to give credit to Milan as well. They conceded only one big chance, and that was off a set piece, which can happen sometimes. And Mike Maignan made one of the saves of the season. It's hard to be that critical of Gatti. I mean, you can say, yes, you just can't miss from that range. But if you actually look at the save, you think there's not that much wrong that Gatti did. He maybe could have got it more in the corner. He could have got it more in the corner, but he hit it connected with it great. And Maignan just spreads himself, like Peter Schmeichel kind of star, put his hands in the air and just have to say that's just
now that's a fantastic save. I don't think that's a bad finish. I think he does everything right there. Okay, like you said, he can be minor critical. If we're talking about bad finishing in this game, that's not one of them. That's a good finish. That's a fantastic save. But no, I just if Mike Maignan was outstanding, but if we're talking about positives, you can't go past Luka Modric. I mean, he was unbelievable. He was genuinely unbelievable. The way that some of the things he does, he makes football look so damn easy. He makes playing in midfield look so damn easy and effortless, and just it's genuinely subliminal to watch him play. Like, he's just so, and he looks so light on his feet, the way he moves, and it's. Is
it a bad reflection also on the state of the Serie A, just how good Modric has been at 40 years old to be just dominating at 40? Is that?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, because it's like, is he past his best? Yes, he is past his best. Everyone understands that he's past his best, but we're not talking about like a Sunday league player. He's not we're not talking about someone who's fallen off dramatically, and he's not as quick as he once was, but his intelligence hasn't deteriorated. His technical ability hasn't deteriorated. His vision and creativity hasn't deteriorated. His timing hasn't deteriorated. He's just not as quick as he once was. Yet he covers a ridiculous amount of ground, of pitch as well. But no, I think it's. I think that there is an element of maybe the Serie A isn't as good as it once was. I think we all know that, but I don't think it's an indictment on the Serie A. I really don't. I think it's more an issue of the quality of Luka Modric, that at the age of 40 he can do these things. It might not happen as quickly as it once did at Real Madrid, where he was the best midfielder in the world for many years and he just dictated play and dominated and whatever. But it's not, we're not talking about, this isn't, I don't know, this isn't I don't know who to say, but we're not talking about someone who's fallen off a cliff here. He's still fantastic.
It's just that what people are going to say. You know what people are going to say. They're going to say, "Look at this, Luka Modric, 40 years old, tearing up the Serie A."
Saying it, and I think it's such a reductive way of viewing it. It's like, it's like, yes, if anyone talks about the problems of the Serie A and analyzes them in great detail, it's us. Okay, much to the annoyance of people at the Serie A and elsewhere who don't want us to do that, just want us to praise. But we're not doing that. We're just being honest. But at the same time, in the spirit of being honest, pretending that Luka Modric has no quality, or it's just because the Serie A is a retirement league and blah, 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 that's bollocks. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Complete bullshit. Because, the Serie A has never been a high-intensity end-to-end league, and it never will be. Luka Modric in this regista role, with the balance that Milan have got and his intelligence, they're getting the most out of each other. He's getting the most out of his his football where he is now, the same way that Zlatan did when he came to Milan at the age of 39, 40. They managed to find a way to get the most out of him, and he was able to express that. And
I think when you see
team.
Modric
That's what they're
dominating,
doing with.
Yeah. I think when you see Modric dominating against top midfielders, like you see him against, how he performed against Napoli, who have a fantastic midfield that are the envy of, most in Europe, against Lobotka and Anguissa and De Bruyne and McTominay, and he looks as good as he did in that game. When you see him perform as well as he did against, Juventus, Locatelli, when Thuram came on, Kefren Thuram came on at the end, and he still looked the best midfielder on the pitch. I think that's when you say, well, you can't just put it down to the level of the Serie A dropping. Fair enough if he's doing it against Cremonese and against literal farmers and against other teams, then okay, yeah, you can say look at the level of the players he's playing against. But I think he's.
I think you're doing a disservice to him because it's if that were the case, then why isn't Kevin De Bruyne the toast of the town if the Serie A is so shit? Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's got nothing to do with that. There's an element of that. This is again with the whole Jonathan David, Gatti, Lloyd Kelly discussion. There's nuance. Can we at least agree on that? That there's nuance to things. Things aren't, it's not just
people will always pick something to fit their agenda. Like Jonathan. Because if we wanted to play that game, we could say, well, Jonathan David's been one of the best strikers in France for 4 or 5 years. He's come to Italy now, and he looks dreadful so far.
Well, that's exactly my point. That's exactly the point I made on Thursday when I had a bunch of butthurt Canadians, mainly Juventus persuasions, talking about
Canadians are usually the nicest people in the world. They never get angry, and you've made them angry.
Well, no,
they are Canadians.
Yeah, well, yeah. I suppose I have a talent for pissing off the low IQ end of every group of people, which is, I suppose, both my burden to bear and also my skill set, which I happily accept. But listen, it's this notion that, look, Jonathan David, I actually rate the player. I liked him in France. I've liked him for Canada when I've seen him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good goal scorer. I wanted him at Inter, right? Because I think in a team where he's in the right environment, he can be really useful. But that doesn't mean that the misses are good enough. Like, surely we can understand that, right? It's the same thing with Kelly. He scored some great goals. He's been good defensively. He's been good for Juve. He's been the best defender. But at the same time, we have to understand that he does lack a lot defensively, his read of the game. And that brings me nicely to the penalty. That is so clumsy and stupid. Why is he barging into him like that? You shouldn't even find yourself in that situation. It's always going to be a penalty in that situation when you barge into someone like that. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, that to me is a top quality defender doesn't do that. Someone with individual quality in the defensive phase does not barge into that. He doesn't need to. You can make a mistake and recover, but when you want to recover, you don't barge into someone like that. It look like a bulldozer.
The penalty is a tricky one. I haven't I would like somebody, if they've got one, to send me. If you've got one, send one to me now. I would like to see an angle that shows it, because the angles that I've seen, there's quite minimal contact. I don't know whether there's enough contact for a penalty. From the angles I've seen, there might be one that shows it's a penalty. For me, there's really very, very little contact. Yes, it's a mistake from Kelly. Like, we're going to criticize Kelly because he's got caught out. He's got behind, and once you're behind, you can't make a challenge. But whether there's enough contact, I don't know. That's number one.
You can't go into a situation like that.
But how much contact is there? I'm just saying, from the angles I've seen,
I think there is contact.
From the angles I've seen, there's not enough. There's not enough contact for a penalty. From the angles I've seen,
there is.
There might be. There's barely any. From what I've seen, what they showed on the TV, there's not enough. There's not enough contact. It's a contact sport at the end of the day. You are allowed.
Yeah, but you can't miss when you have lost. When the player that you're supposed to defend and mark has won the challenge, he's got a clear advantage towards you, and you barge into him like that. Come on.
I have to say, listen, everybody that's listening and watching this is on YouTube as well. If somebody can send to the comments a video that shows conclusively good contact, enough contact, please send it. And I'm just saying, from the angles that I've seen on TV and on Twitter, there's not enough contact for me. That's number one. Number two is this: if there is contact, and they have,
there is definitely contact,
which they did.
It's not like
if there's enough contact for a penalty, right? And if the penalty is given, which it is, it has to be a red card. It has to be a red card because you're not playing the ball. If you don't play the ball, it's a red card.
He's trying to play the ball. No, but he's trying. Like,
is he?
I suppose what
I'm not
the thing
convinced he is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though.
That's
that's an interpretation, but it's not that. Like, if he's not trying to play the ball at all, then yes, it's a red card. But then that's an interpretation thing. Is he trying to play the ball?
I don't think he is.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell he's trying to do. I just think he's very, very clumsy.
I know the referee explained. I know the Milan players wanted a red card, and the referee went over and explained. For me, from the angles I've seen, I don't think it's a penalty. But once he's given the penalty, I think it has to be a red card.
No, he doesn't. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have to be a red card. In order for it to have to be a red card, it has to be completely clear that he's not trying to play the ball. I don't think you can make that argument that he absolutely isn't trying to play the ball. It's not a situation where he's trying to ruin, like what's his name? Like, would just pull the player back and he got sent off in the Napoli game. Napoli Milan, like that he didn't even try to play the ball. There's no discussion there. This is a little bit more inconclusive, and therefore I think the referee did the right thing there and didn't send him off, because that would have been an overreach.
At the end of the day, regardless, it doesn't matter. The penalty discussion doesn't matter because he missed it, but it's a bad penalty as well. I mean, it's
a shit penalty again with the finishing. I already said it's been dreadful, but it's and I really didn't expect Pulisic to have to shoot a penalty that bad. But look, what I mean is, like, again, the broader point I was making when I brought the segued into this is the individual quality that players have. They can, some players are overall can make mistakes, and we should criticize them for that. But when we've seen some players do it over and over again for over 2 years, this is the quality they're at. This is the level they're at, and we're just gonna have to accept that, and that's fine. But with Kelly, I'm sorry, but that is just so clumsy. You never, like, whenever. It's so funny when it's Juve against Milan. You're so used to world-class defenders through the years playing this game and stopping the strikers from scoring without conceding, because they do it just the right way. And then you see that, and it's just like that was more to me a sign of the times, watching stupid defending, like clumsy defending like that, more than Luka Modric having an absolute sublime day again of the quality of the Serie A. If you want to draw any comparisons over the quality of the Serie A, it's Lloyd Kelly starting for Juve and not Giorgio Chiellini. I mean, if we're going to talk about something, we have Bonucci, Barzagli, Chiellini, Kelly, Rugani. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, if we're doing this kind of, lazy comparisons, that to me is a bigger indictment on Juventus and the Serie A than anything, than the Luka Modric being brilliant is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, no, I'm just reading up the quotes. Morelli says it's hard to see an offence on the penalty. So that's what he said anyway, which is exactly where I was at. It's hard to see enough contact. But anyway, let's move on to Napoli Genoa, which the bench makes a difference for Napoli in this game. Awful first half from Napoli, where they're losing 1-0. 0 shots on target, 1 off target. And then the players that come on make the difference. Spinazzola and De Bruyne makes a difference. After all the discussion about Kevin De Bruyne, he makes the difference. And so does Spinazzola. I think Spinazzola in the first instance, for the first goal, he put the cross in that ended up leading to the goal. And this is why exactly what I said last week when I said about Spinazzola should be recalled to the Italy squad. Spinazzola gives you that extra weapon. he's able to beat his man, eliminate his man, create the overload. And when you're playing against a team like Genoa, who, let's be honest, they just park the bus and they're well set up and they're well organised under Patrick Vieira, and it's hard to break them down. And you need players that can go past their man and beat their man, because once you do that, you then create the overload. And that's what Spinazzola started doing when he came on. He was able to run at his man on the left hand side. He cut inside, he crossed it in, and they equalised. And then Hojlund, after putting a gorgeous through ball for Hojlund, De Bruyne, after putting that gorgeous through ball to Hojlund, which he scored but got disallowed for offside, he then put in the cross that led to the De Bruyne's winner as well. So yeah, I guess we saw with De Bruyne that his importance is there for Napoli after all the criticism that he's had.
Well, it's not just that, it's also the fact that before the game, Conte made a really interesting call. Oriali was speaking, saying scelta tecnica, and that's why De Bruyne was benched. They wanted to play Neres because he's too good to be on the bench, and also he wanted to unlock Scott McTominay. I think he was very, very clear. It's very, very clear that Conte wants to get McTominay going, wants to, yes, we've tried to accommodate Kevin De Bruyne, but now it's time to accommodate Scott McTominay to get him back to his best, and also Neres is too good to be on the bench. So I thought it was a very clear signal towards that, more than any problem between himself and De Bruyne. But of course, De Bruyne then comes on and is decisive again, like he was in the Champions League. That's an interesting dynamic, because it kind of goes to show that, okay, when you're criticized, the top players, they turn it up. When they're not having a good moment or form or good stretch of games, the best players then respond on the pitch. And it's really interesting to see that even though De Bruyne is not having the best time at Napoli, he's responding by being decisive on the pitch. And that's a culture of champions, and De Bruyne is a champion. There's no doubt about that. And I think that is something that Conte will absolutely love at Napoli, and love to have at Napoli. He loves to have that on the training ground. He loves having that on around Napoli, because that's the kind of character he is. He wants that. He wants players to respond when they're criticized. He wants people to react by being decisive and giving that, showing that quality, expressing that quality that he believes they have. It's really impressive to see. This last week has been really, 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 interesting from that point of view. And also the turnaround, like you said, they were dreadful in the first half. They genuinely were dreadful, even though they did create one or two chances, but they were awful. But then in the second half, they turned it around. And of course, Spinazzola. Wow. I'm so glad he got. I was annoyed with Gattuso not calling up to the Italy national team, and then Politano pulled out and Spinazzola came on.
So is that confirmed? Yeah, Spinazzola's replaced Politano. I know Politano pulled out, but I wasn't sure. I got a message this morning from saying, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I got a message saying Chiesa hasn't even been recalled even after the Politano injury. So I was thinking, who is it? I didn't get a chance to check this morning. So yeah,
I think Spinazzola should be in the squad, period, regardless. And we've discussed this. I think that if you're playing at the level that he's playing at, he should be in the squad, full stop. He shouldn't be called down when Politano pulled out. He should be there, period.
Well, he even played well on the right against Sporting at right back. So, I mean, the problems that Italy having at right back, as well. I mean, I'd potentially consider that as well. But look, I think that Napoli showed the strengths of the bench again, in the sense that when things are going badly, Conte has a lot of options to make changes, and that's just about at the moment, because Napoli have not been perfect this season. They've been having problems in most of their games. So even in that 3-2 against was it Pisa? Was it 3-2? Was it Pisa they beat 3-2? Yeah. So even in that game, having a lot of trouble, but they've got enough options that if they need to make a change, they can do enough, and they could turn around the game, and they can switch they can switch the lights on.
They can grind out results. That's the thing. Conte teams, when things aren't clicking, they still manage to grind out results when things are going well. When his teams are in a good place, and when things are going the way that he wants them to do, even though when they're not playing well, they can grind out results, and they're doing that. Napoli are grinding out results. They're not playing really well. They haven't been 100%. They look a little bit, they're trying to fix this. Everyone's trying to adjust to this system. They get the job done, and they react more than anything. It's not just that the substitutions that are qualitatively individual quality, which we've discussed this episode a lot, is good. It's also the fact that they react. The team reacts when he makes changes, and his substitutions have impact, which is going to build confidence both for him, but also for the players, that whenever the manager does something, it actually has an impact on the pitch.
If there's a negative, and this is being discussed, and Conte even admitted it at the end of the game. Antonio Conte said at the end of the Napoli win, Scott McTominay is struggling a bit at the moment. He was Serie A MVP last season. What has happened to McTominay so far this season? It's still early, of course, but he is, like Conte said, he is struggling a little bit. He's been put out on the left-hand side for most games to accommodate Kevin De Bruyne. But in this game, Kevin De Bruyne wasn't there, and he played back in his more natural position, and he also struggled. So what's happened to McTominay? Is it Kevin De Bruyne's fault? Is it clubs getting used to him and learning about what he's good at after his first season? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of many, many factors. Again, it's not just one thing. I think it's a combination of many things. Second, when you're named the best player of a league, that commands respect. That means that opponents are going to double down on you. They're going to man mark you. They're going to put extra effort to erase you because you're a player of a certain quality, right? And they have studied him. They absolutely have in the Serie A, and the Serie A is coaches are brilliant at that, the tactical level of that. Then I think it's also the fact that he's the new system, and I think, to be honest with you, one of the reasons I think Conte has brought in De Bruyne and tried this new system was exactly to counter that, in order to, if I put McTominay in a new situation, a new environment, bring in De Bruyne, I kind of can mitigate McTominay being red, which is bound to happen after his second season, when teams are studying him and are used to him, and also I get the quality of De Bruyne in, and I get to switch things up and keep people guessing, tactically, that is, his opponents. And I think and then I think there's the element that last season Napoli only had one game a week. I think that also has an impact. There's more games. There's going to be more fatigue, and so I think it's all of the above. I still think we need to wait a little bit before we can say anything definitive. But
I think he's still, actually, if you look at his hard stats and look at the chances and shots, and he's still getting into some good positions.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one at the end where Luca should have just cut it back to him. I think he might have been offside, Luca, so it wouldn't have counted. But and so he's still getting into the positions, and he's and he's still, I think he's still got the same amount of goals this season as he had at this point last season. Although he was really unlucky at the start of last season. I remember he kept hitting the woodwork and stuff. But I'm not concerned. I think he'll be fine. It's more of a broader point about still fitting in De Bruyne and McTominay together. That still needs to be sorted out, I think, over the course of a season. But no worries there. I do want to just praise. Oh no, one other last thing on Napoli is.
I agree. Just wanted to say I agree with the McTominay point as well. I think I'm not worried as well. I think he looks. I just think he needs a little bit. It's going to take a little time to adjust to this new reality that he's in.
Yeah. Just one point I wanted to make is following on from the whole playing on twice a week is injuries are starting to pile up for Napoli. Now they've got two players that went out in this game, Lobotka and Politano. We'll see how long. I mean, I think they're muscle injuries. So if they're muscle injuries, that's 3 to 4 weeks. With they've been decimated in defence so far this season. I mean, Rachmani and Buongiorno are both still out. Buongiorno is a bit of a worry. He's getting way too many injuries in his whole Napoli career, full stop. That's a little bit of a concern, that is, because that's starting to affect his career, full stop. How good, how successful his career can be for club and for country. Because if he's getting the number of injuries that he's getting right now, then he's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for him. So injuries are starting to pile up for Napoli. So they have to be a little bit careful there, and that's why they've got the squad they've got. Because if these injuries had happened last season, there's no way Napoli would have been able to win the Scudetto with these injuries because their squad wasn't good enough. And now they're in 2 competitions, even more so. I do want to just praise Ekator. Brilliant goal. Fantastic. You said about bad finishing this weekend. Well, there you go.
Sublime. Absolutely gorgeous. 18-year-old, just back heel. It was gorgeous. I loved it. I mean, for me, I can reveal now that's the Baggio of the week right there. I mean, it was just absolutely stunning.
He's an interesting player, isn't he, Ekator? He's got something about him, isn't he? Let's see how he can develop.
He's an exciting one, and he's played for. He's had. I think he's got 1 cap. Excuse me, for the Italy under-21. I think he's won 1 cap for them, but he's only 18, so there's still time. No, he's an interesting player. I was really, really pleased to see him.
Yeah, gorgeous. And just remind me of Del Piero, Champions League '97 final.
I know which one you mean. Yeah, but Del Piero's was on a volley too. I mean,
Del Piero's was on a volley, but that type of technique, he let it come through his legs, and the defender.
The thing is, to think to do it and to have the quick. That kind of short moment between thinking and actually doing it, that to me is what that short time span between thinking of doing something and executing it.
And I think he needed that movement is really impressive. In front of him.
Not a lot of players have that ability about them.
Yeah, the defender slid in front of him, so literally he couldn't have shot it normally because the defender would have blocked it. So he let it come that enough time to come through him and flick it behind him, so it bypasses defender's tackle, which was really good.
Well, that's what I mean. The short space of time between thinking of doing that and being able to execute that in one movement, that's what certain players just have that. And it's really,
we're going to have to start speeding up now, Nima, because I have to go in 20 minutes. So we're going to have to get through the rest of the show in 20 minutes. So Inter Cremonese, Inter battered Cremonese, battered them 4-1, 27 shots, 3.58 XG. I think that the first point I want to make is that Inter showed what I said at the start of the season. They've got 4 quality attackers now, and they've got the best attack in Serie A. I think that's clear to see. Lautaro scoring again. He's in great form. Boni scoring that he came off. So Turan being out was no problem. And when you've got Pio Esposito as well, they've got 4 top attackers. I think they're going to score a lot of goals. They're going to be the top scorers in Serie A this season, I think. Inter.
Yeah, I mean they create chances for sure. I mean but that's nothing new. We've seen Inter do that for many years. The difference here, of course, is that it's a much more higher intensity, higher up the pitch, and they're much more cohesive in their aggression. And it's interesting because you had a Conte who was very vertical. And then you had kind of an Inzaghi who was vertical, but also very direct and horizontal. And now you have a Kivu who is much more vertical than even Conte was to a certain extent at Inter. And much more higher aggression, higher up the pitch in a much more cohesive manner. And it's that's the main difference between Kivu's Inter and Inzaghi's Inter. I'd say. And the players are enjoying playing that. And I think one of the things that I think he's done really, really good, Kivo, is he's managed to rotate really well. He rotates 5-6 players every single game. And even in games, he brings them players off in the 55th minute if he feels that, okay, this player is tired, I need him a bit later. Dumfries was not happy, but it doesn't matter. He needs him later. There's no drama. And he doesn't really engage with that. He's got a very chilled and relaxed kind of approach to things. I mean, he was asked if he's going to watch Milan Juve, and he was like, no, I'm watching the NFL instead. Like, I mean, he just doesn't, he just doesn't care. He's very much, when we're on the training ground, when we're on the pitch, we need maximum concentration. Everyone needs to do what they're told and all of that. But then everything around, he's very cool and relaxed, and he doesn't mind laughing and joking, and that kind of, there's a very positive vibe around him, and the way that he handles pressure, having been a top player who's at Inter, having won everything at Inter, written history at Inter, he knows what the pressure at Inter can be like. And I think he's handled that really, really well. I think even under Conte, from Spalletti to Conte to Inzaghi, when things were heightened pressure at Inter, the vibe around Inter was very tense. Here, the tenseness, you don't get that from Kivu. He seems very kind of, he handles it better than all of those did. In the sense that he doesn't let it get to him at all. He insulates himself and the squad from that, and creates an environment, at least so far, that is very chilled and relaxed, very concentrated, very professional, but very, very chilled, and that's good. That's part of being a manager at a club like Inter, and he's done so really well. Another thing is, Inter are very direct as well. They're much more towards goal. Even though they're much more vertical, it's much more get towards goal as quick, as quickly as possible. And I think one thing that I did really like seeing, and something that Kivu did not invent, it was actually Conte who started playing him there, really, if we're honest. And that is Barella as a regista, or Barella in this double pivot is something that I think could be, that could be the way out of the Barella's depression at Inter, if we can call it that. Because he's not looked good as this Mezzala. Maybe he needs to be put in a new situation in order to express, to not improve, but to get back to his best. Okay, Cremonese are not the best team in the world, but he looked really good in this game.
He was outstanding, yeah. Brilliant assist for the first goal. And he scored as well.
Yeah. No, maybe that could be the way forward.
I thought Di Marco was really good as well. I think he's actually been really productive this season. I think he has. Kivu's actually getting the best out of him. I think Kivu suits Di Marco, because Di Marco is obviously better going forward, and he's high up, and and interplaying the high line suits Di Marco, because he's always in a high position where he can make use of his qualities, as long as he doesn't have to defend back. Whereas when he's having to defend, or having to start lower, and then he has to get up the pitch, and I don't know. But I think he's really enjoying himself, like you said, and he's playing more. I had a bit of a barb at Inzaghi, which I know got a bit of criticism. Capello criticised him, called him an ingrate for criticising Inzaghi.
No, Capello said that he's being disrespectful to his teammates because there's a player coming on as well. The coach makes their decision, and you need to respect that. Which is very typical of Capello.
2 goals, 3 assists now. That's and he would have more goals as well, because he's had goals disallowed as well, for unfortunately this season. So otherwise he would have. Look,
I think look, we need to put this into context again. Can we stop with the bipolarness of this? Like, it started poorly, but they've recovered. But when they have recovered, if you look at the games they played, they've not played world beaters. Let's be honest. It's been a good recovery. There was pressure there. He's handled that really well. The way that he's got them relaxed, the way that he's managed to get them out of this it wasn't a crisis, but potential crisis. He's handled the pressure really well, and Inter are playing really well. He's rotated really well. The players look fit. They look healthy. The new signings, except for Diouf and Luis Enrique to a certain extent, are looking really good. And he's come through this first exam period with a pass. He's not gone out with flying colors, because there's 2 losses, both of which were poor. Should not have happened, especially against Udinese. I mean, you can lose to Juve away, even though that game shouldn't have happened. But if you look at that game, but the Udinese thing has been, they've caught up with the teams ahead of them. And now it starts. Now is when we start to ask the tough questions of Kivu and this project, because after the international break, Inter have Roma away at the Olimpico, and that's going to be a very interesting.
And then
game.
Napoli away as well.
Exactly.
After. But talking of Roma, they are joint top of the table. 5 wins in 6. They come from behind to beat Fiorentina. How far can Roma go? Well, what was your take on their performance here before we talk about Fiorentina?
It's so it's I'm laughing because it's not Gasperini's team, and yet they just look so damn solid. Like, that's the thing, that we talk about Conte's teams and how they grind out results. Gasperini never used to grind out results. What's going on? Like, they're grinding out results. It doesn't look very free flowing. It doesn't look very, comfortable, but they just grind out results. And if they're going to keep doing this, then yeah.
Maybe Ranieri's still the coach. Maybe Ranieri's still
exactly. Yeah, maybe Ranieri and Gasperini have weekly have like talked together. Okay, this is what we need to do. It's crazy. And people are dreaming. They don't say it out loud, of course, in Rome, because they're very superstitious, just like in Naples and elsewhere in Italy. But they're glancing at that table and they're going, well, maybe if the stars align and whatnot. And I think that would be an exaggeration. And Gasperini said, look, the Scudetto is not our objective. So he just killed that talk immediately. And I think that was very wise of him to do that. Say, listen, the Scudetto is not our objective. And of course it's not their objective. It would be stupid and insane to even entertain that after six match days. But they are grinding out results. And they have individual qualities. Soulé scored a fantastic goal.
Yeah, beauty, wasn't it?
A beauty, and that's another thing. If he can get the best out of him and start to build around him and him be the focal point, and Roma do well, then that's a good place for Roma to be at. But it's funny because at the same time, there are question marks defensively for them, for Roma. They do concede a bit, but they have one of the best, if not the best, goalkeeper in Serie A in Svilar. He's been absolutely fantastic. The defense I actually quite like. I like this defense of Indica and what's his name, and Hermoso and Mancini. They work well. We know Mancini does well under Gasperini. He came up and established himself under Gasperini and Atalanta. Now Kone was great again. No, it's looking good for Roma. And if you're winning and grinding out results when it doesn't look too good, then you're thinking, well, when things actually click into gear, how will it look then?
I think it will have to click into gear if Roma are going to sustain the start they've had. Because if, again, and I hate to break this down to stats, boring stats and numbers, but if you actually watch all of Roma's games this season and you weigh up chances created versus chances conceded, the XG of the game, pretty much almost every win this season that Roma have had, they've had the XG has been either the same as the opposition, or actually they've had the XG has been lower than the opposition. So Roma are overperforming. The results are overperforming the actual performances at the moment, and that's not sustainable. So if they want to sustain this, they're going to have to start playing better. Like you said, they're going to have to become a little bit more Gasperini-like in chance creation, because they're not creating that much really this season, to be honest with you. And they have had, like you said, individual moments of brilliance, like from Soulé, to get them back into a game in which they're losing and, in a difficult situation. So, and Svida as well, making great saves. So it's,
No, it's interesting. It's
great.
funny,
It's
but
great
like,
for Roma, but it's
I mean, if you
let's
think
not get
about it, had
carried
they
away.
not lost that game against Torino, when the game that they probably should have won, if we're honest, they would have had 6 straight wins. It would have been a perfect record. And it doesn't take in Rome, in certain piazzas, in certain piazze, it doesn't take a lot for people to start dreaming. And
No,
and
they do. They like to get carried
maybe
away.
that. Yeah, but maybe that loss against Torino was good for them in the sense that it keeps them grounded. I don't know, but it's a funny one, Roma. It really is. I mean, they have a Rome derby underway. They've played a couple of big games, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, let's talk about Fiorentina. 2 questions. First of all, should Pioli be sacked? 3 points from 6 games this season.
Based on the results, you have to. Yes,
based on the performances as well. Let's be honest, the performances haven't been good either, have they?
Well, I thought in this game they were good. I thought they actually they created and they look better than they have. But I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's a tricky one. I really think it's a tricky one. If what they should do, because I'm not sure who's out there that they can bring in to fix this, because I don't think the season is lost by any stretch of the imagination.
Luciano Spalletti?
Oh, I would love Spalletti at Fiorentina. I mean, but then that would be absolutely brilliant. But would he be open?
Have you seen their next 3 games in Serie A though, Nima? Milan, Bologna, Inter. Milan and Inter are both away. He's in trouble, Nima. He's in trouble.
He is in trouble. Yeah, look, it's the international break. If you're going to do something, do it now. And I would love Spalletti back in Italian football. And Spalletti in Florence as well. I mean, he is from Tuscany, and that would be cool. And he's such he just suits them, doesn't he? He's such a crazy character, and he, Fiorentina, he would make them very, very, like, maybe Pioli's a little bit too bland for Fiorentina. Maybe they need Spalletti there, who's
someone more eccentric.
A little bit more eccentric, and they picked the wrong Baldy. They got the bland Baldy. They should get the spicy Baldy in there.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to ask, and this is despite all the negativity, Moise Kean, the goal that Moise Kean scored was absolutely out of this world, unreal. I mean, that's not even I don't even know what that's not even a 2%, 1% chance. He picks that up. Evan Ndika does nothing wrong at all. In fact, I think Ndika actually defends him really, really well.
Yeah, he puts him on the right side.
Yeah,
exactly. He tries to cut him down.
He cuts in. He doesn't even give him any space to shoot. He shoots for the tiniest angle, and it's just a missile. And Svila doesn't do anything wrong. I can't blame Svila. Svila's just beaten by the pace and the power of that shot. It's past him before he can even react, and he still gets kind of a little bit of a touch to it. Moise Kean, and he almost scored a brilliant second goal when he hit the post with his left foot. Again, not even a 1% chance, and he just hits it, bang, beats the goalkeeper again for pace, and he's so unlucky not to score. Is Moise Kean the... What's that fly? That's Moise Kean's shot going past you. Is Moise Kean the best striker in Serie A now? Is he the best number 9 in Serie A?
Difficult question to answer. I think maybe on form, or maybe we could make an argument. I don't know. I think it's difficult to like on form maybe, but I mean in terms of ability, I mean you've got quite a few gunning for that spot. But he is.
There's only Lautaro and Thuram, but do you call Lautaro and Thuram 9s? They're kind of 9.5s, or
well,
do you know what I mean? Though. So it depends on the definition. But if you take Lautaro and Thuram away, I think he is the best number 9 in Serie A. Who else is there? I mean, there's Lukaku. There's no one at Juventus, that's for sure. There's no one at Roma. There's no one at Lazio. Reteghi's has left Atalanta. So for me, right now, I think I think he is the best number 9 in Serie A. And what I would say is this. He could be he's going to leave Fiorentina at the end of the season. I think that's obvious. This is his last season. This is Moise Kean's last season at Fiorentina. He could be worth 100 million euros by the end of the season if he continues like this, with scoring goals like this. If Benjamin Sesko is worth 85 million, if Hojlund is worth 80 million, if Isak is worth 143 million, then Moise Kean is worth 100 million.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do that the prices of these, it's there's no logic, and I'm not criticizing any of those players. I'm just saying it's a completely deregulated market, and the value of a player is literally just decided on by how much the selling club is willing to accept and how much the buying club is willing to pay. So there's no logic. But yeah, if you try to apply logic to somewhere where there is none, then yeah, I agree. Moise Kean is 100 million.
But what I mean, I guess he's up there with those with the best strikers now, isn't he? He's putting himself.
Yeah, he is. Listen, the improvement. I think the career trajectory since he made that move to Fiorentina is the one that has surprised me the most. I always thought he was a good player, but I didn't think he was this good. He's playing at a level now that is way higher than I ever thought was possible for him. And he's doing it at a consistent level, which I think is the most impressive.
As I've repeated many times, and like reminding everyone, I was one of the very few, probably the only person that was against Juventus getting rid of Moise Kean in the summer of 2024. I said it at the time. I said I think it's a big mistake. They're making a big mistake, and I've been proven right. However, did I think that Moise Kean was going to become a 25, 30 goal a season striker? No chance. I thought 15 to 20 potentially, but he had other qualities that would be useful for the team. We even saw in his last season at Juventus, despite it being injury ravaged, I remember at the start of that season, despite him not scoring a goal, you could see his overall game in terms of his hold-up play and the strength and the way he was bringing others. Even at that start of his last season at Juventus, we actually started, I remember us actually talking about it on this podcast 2 years ago and saying, we are seeing Moise Kean develop his overall game. We're seeing it. And I think I even was one of the few times I praised Allegri and said he's actually improved Kean. The goals didn't come, and he went the whole season without scoring, also because he missed half the season with injury. But you could see you could see the game coming out. I didn't see him becoming this monster and this
seriously.
goal.
I mean, if we're talking about Juventus selling players, Romero, Hojlund, Rovella, Soulé, Kean, De Winter, I mean. Yeah,
even Caviglia's in the Italy squad now as well.
Yeah,
it's like leave Juventus and yeah, mad.
Yeah, it's right. Crazy.
We're gonna have to be really quick because I've literally got to go in 5 minutes. So Atalanta Como 1-1. Quite an entertaining game, end-to-end game. Could have gone either way. I thought Atalanta was slightly the better team, but I think probably overall, probably just about right. We saw two teams that are going to fight for Europe this season. Peroni, did he mean that goal? Was it a fluke? I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
There's no way he meant that. You can't, I mean, like if people say that Di Marco's goal was a fluke, then what the hell is that? I mean, that's a cross.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I do want to praise Carnesecchi again. Carnesecchi has made saves this season. Him and Caprile, them two have been making saves this season. Just unreal. The save that he made from Da Cunha, it was a 0.81 expected goal on target, which basically means once the shot has been made, based on the shot, the quality of the shot and how they shoot it, the placement of the shot, what the likelihood is of that becoming a goal was 0.81. So there was an 81% chance of that being a goal once the shot had been made, and Carnesecchi saved it. I mean, I'd like to see what the one for Magnon was on Gatti, probably even higher. But yeah, Carnesecchi is when it comes to shot stopping, Carnesecchi
he's unbelievable.
He might even be the best in Serie A.
Yeah,
out of him and Svila, maybe.
I agree. In terms of like line goalkeeping, if you know what I mean, like reaction goalkeeping, Carnesecchi is definitely one of the best, if not the best. But I just want to give a shout out to Samardzic, who. Again, another good performance. Just as I was saying last week, I'm questioned. It was a conundrum. How do you solve Samardzic? How do you get him into the system? And because he slowed things down. Well, he replied. He's responded really well this week. That he's actually improving and he's finding his place in this system. And I think that this could be a really, really interesting career-defining season for him under Juric at Atalanta. And if he has a good season and they're able to unlock him, then Atalanta are going to be in the top 4 race for sure.
Yeah, no, I think I actually thought Atalanta did well against a good Como team. Como are good, especially away from home. They're dangerous because they've got a lot of pace on the counter-attack. And Jadon Adai is electric. I'm really excited looking to watching him this season. I thought Atalanta were pretty good. Lookman's reintegrated, so they've got him. If Samardzic is playing well, once Scamacca comes back, yeah, I think things are. You can see Atalanta are a better team with Lookman in there. He's such a huge player for them, and Ederson is back. So yeah. Rest of the fixtures: Verona 1, Sassuolo 0. So Sassuolo continue their good form. Lazio 3, Torino 3, which was the game of the weekend. It was an incredible game. In injury time, Coco thought he'd won it in the 93rd minute. Then he gave away a really stupid penalty, which Cataldi put away in the 103rd minute. Amazing. But the player I want to single out in this game is Cancellieri, who I said in pre-season, watch out for this guy because he was playing well in pre-season, and he scored 2 fantastic goals.
Brilliant
in this game.
Brilliant goals.
And should have been maybe in the Italy squad. I don't know, especially with like Politano going out. I don't know. Maybe let's give him another month. But if he carries on like this, I think he's going to be knocking on the door for Gattuso, I think, if he keeps this up. And that's good for Italy. I said at the start of the season, I said, with this transfer embargo, Lazio needs somebody to come through that's already there. Otherwise, there's just no hope. There's nothing and he's given them something. So that's good. The big question, though, is has Baroni done enough to save his job? That's the question. I guess we'll find out in the next hours and days.
Patrick Vieira and Pioli are also on the. But I mean, to me, that it was a very interesting game. But also, I felt bad but he's under a lot of pressure, as we saw as he completely lost it in the post-match press conference, where journalists asked him a question, and there were some other journalists apparently talking amongst themselves, smiling to one another, and he took that as disrespectful to everyone else, and he just let fly. It was very funny, very Italian post-match.
I would keep him. Torino have had a very, very hard start to the season in fixtures, and yet they've still won at Roma and were literally seconds away from winning at Lazio as well. I think he deserves more time.
I agree.
The other fixtures, I'm just going to read this out, and I literally have to go in 2 minutes. Parma 0, Lecce 1, Udinese 1, Cagliari 1, Bologna 4, Pisa 0. Buffon's son made his debut 30 years after his dad made his debut. So which is amazing.
Lecce beating Parma is monumentally important for the relegation race. Like that is Parma are in trouble.
Yeah, right. Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio, I think we've been through all of them. Kean and Soulé's goals, Modric sublime, and you want to say Muric for Sassuolo?
Yes, Sassuolo goalkeeper. He's been unbelievable. Like the saves that he's made, and again on this weekend against Hellas, you talk about making like crazy saves. He's made some absolutely unbelievable saves this season. So cumulatively, I want to nominate him for Baggio of the week.
Cool. Premface of the week is, I like this goal. I like her. She's a good goal, but this is fucking Premfacery. Olivia Buzzaglo, right? She said of Reece James. I do actually think if Chelsea weren't robbed of a fully fit Reece James for about 5 years, we could have been looking at the greatest right back ever. The levels to his game are out of this world. Yeah. Yes, and also Mikel Arteta. This guy is insane. He's crazy.
He's absolutely batshit bonkers. Mikel Arteta is batshit bonkers.
Yeah. Like, so he was talking to an RAF pilot to try and improve his social and speech skills. Is that right? I mean, yeah. I mean, what was the other one? The light bulb. What was it about that he did the light bulb moment thing? And oh yeah, he's absolutely he's
off his he's off his rocker. He's absolutely crazy.
He's a strange character, that's for sure. Serie ASS of the week, right? Roma number one for missing 3 penalties in a row. I've never seen that ever before.
I've never seen that happen either.
I don't think that's ever happened before. No.
I've never seen a team miss 3 penalties like that, one after another, in one situation. I mean, it was comical.
There's been 3 missed in the same game. Martin Palermo missed 3 penalties.
Yeah, but not from the same situation.
They were all separate penalties. This was yeah.
This is one and the same penalty over and over
Roma
again.
and the Stadio Olimpico and penalties.
I mean, if Gasperini was having a go at Lookman for shitty penalties, then
I was thinking the same. Like, can you imagine if that was Lookman taking those penalties?
Yeah, and also, like, if I were Gasperini, I wouldn't be throwing paninis at the players. I'd be beating them with paninis.
Well, good luck doing that to Dobbik. I think, yeah.
I mean, it was horrible. Two dreadful penalties from.
And the other Serie A of the week is Jonathan David. Just the miss against Villarreal, which I put in here before the game. I want to add what he did against Milan as well.
And also, look, misses, like I said, Gosens for Fiorentina, like Zaniolo, that is a Serie A. Have you seen his miss? Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, like, Udinese had so many chances in that game. I can't believe they didn't win that game. They missed chance after chance after chance. Okay, right. I have to go. Let's leave it at that. So, yeah, thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll have the Q&A, which will be coming also this week. And then Nima is going to do a reaction pod, post-match reaction pod on Italy against Estonia, because those are always really, really popular. So we'll have that for you as well. And then we will see what else is happening if we do anything else. If not, enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the international break. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.